Hello and welcome to a school's question and answers debate brought to you from Carre's Grammar School in Sleaford. Today I am joined by four sixth formers, Ben, James, Rory and Luke, who all have very different opinions on the future of grammar schools, like the one which we all attend. I want to begin by asking the panel, is there a place for grammar schools in this current education system and how prominent should they be? Firstly, I'll come to you, Ben.
I believe there is a need for grammar schools to exist. Grammar schools bridge the gap between comprehensive and private education. It allows the more able students to learn in a more suitable and appropriate environment, yet it is also accessible to everybody, of any class or wealth, as long as they meet the required ability.
Thank you, Ben. And Luke?
Well, I think it's wrong to segregate education based on any factor, and I think students will learn best when there is a mix of people within the class, and that goes for the more able and for the less able. The state should do the best it can to improve all of the school conditions and the education system as a whole. It shouldn't simply put more money into certain schools that are set aside for more able pupils. A divisive system is not suitable at all, and there should be conditions within schools to cater for the more able and for the less able.
Thank you, Luke. And James?
I think you're fine with the saying and your point about ploughing money into successful grammar schools. I think you'll find that Labour's programme for building schools for the future and Michael Gove's new plans are all free schools aimed at the poorest of society, and it aims to improve education. Grammar schools obviously have a place in society. They do take people on ability. It's got absolutely nothing to do with wealth. When you have statistics of a person's ability, you cannot see their wealth. There is no document with it on.
Thank you, James. Rory?
Well, put quite simply, there's no way grammar schools can work fairly, so it's pointless to include them within the education system.
But there's no issue of fairness with grammar schools. Grammar schools do accept on a base of ability.
That's wrong. It's their ability at the age of 11.
Because it is natural. It's the only real way to determine a person's true academic suitability for a grammar school.
And the exams bear no sort of resemblance to the work you do within school anyway, so how can that be fair?
I'll just interrupt you here and put in my next question so you all can have a discussion on this. What about the 11 plus? What are your opinions on this as a suitable test for an admission to grammar schools? Firstly, I'll come to you, James.
I don't agree with 11 plus, but I agree with its ideas and its principles. What I would do is I would see reform to the 11 plus and see a staggered year 4, year 5, year 6 assessment, not based on purely exams, but ability that is judged by the teachers. I think it's these recommendations that should be taken by grammar schools into consideration when accepting students. And for the comprehensives, this is not to say that they won't get the bad students. They'll be able to get fundamentally good students.
Okay, thank you, James. Rory?
Well, the 11 plus is not suitable, and I fail to see any way an admissions test could be. Grammar schools are always going to be limited to middle class areas, and they're always going to attract middle class students. We have segregation higher up the system when we go to university, and there's a lot of progression that goes on between the ages when you're at secondary school.
Thank you, Rory. Ben?
I acknowledge your point, Rory. However, I believe at current, the 11 plus is the fairest way to assess students' ability before entering to secondary education, and therefore it must remain. A system that caters for all abilities must be used. If grammar schools were to be phased out, only the higher and lower abilities would be catered for.
Thank you, Ben. And finally, Luke.
Well, to answer the initial question, I completely believe the 11 plus is totally wrong. It can be tutored for, so really it's just another system of private school. Parents can pay for tutors who will help the children get into grammar schools. However, a system like James has suggested, which would be stalking children through Key Stage 2, puts undue pressure on schools and undue pressure on the pupils.
Thank you. So as a final question, where would you like to see grammar schools in 10 years' time? Ben?
In 10 years' time, I hope to see grammar schools still in existence, if not expanded across the whole country. This would benefit students of all abilities by learning alongside people of similar stature. It would expel the myth of grammar schools only catering for students of a middle-class background.
Thank you. James?
I certainly hope that grammar schools are a strong role in society in 10 years' time. I think it would be a great shame to lose such a prominent institution.
Thank you. And Rory?
I can't see a future for grammar schools in 10 years' time. They run on a system that isn't fair, and if a system isn't fair, we should fix that system, and I think the funding would be better put into comprehensives.
Thank you, Rory. And finally, Luke.
Quite simply, I'd like to see them gone. I think they should make a point of going out with the old and in with the new. They should use the academy system to retain that bit of identity that so many of these grammar schools want, but at the same time getting rid of the archaic and outdated system of segregated students based on the 11+.
Thank you.